All right, so let's dive right in, shall we?
Yeah.
Creating a calm oasis in your own space. We've got some research and some practical tips that I think are really going to resonate. Have you ever thought about how your surroundings, how they can amp up your stress or actually help you relax?
It's incredible how much our environment actually impacts our mental state. Yeah, it's often something we underestimate, the power of our surroundings to really influence our well-being. It's not just about aesthetics, right?
Right.
It's about creating a space that actually supports our mental and emotional health.
Okay, so let's unpack this. I mean, where do we even begin when we're talking about designing for calm?
Well, research shows that clutter, all that clutter, it actually bombards the brain
Hmm.
with excessive stimuli. And what happens is it leads to a spike in cortisol, which is the stress hormone.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. And there was one study, they found that women who described their homes as cluttered, they actually had higher cortisol levels throughout the day compared to those who described their living spaces as restful and restorative.
That makes total sense.
It's like our brains are constantly trying to process the visual chaos, leading to mental fatigue and tension.
Yeah. No, I've definitely felt that kind of overwhelmed feeling when I walk into like a messy room.
Yeah.
It's like my mind just can't relax, because it's
Right.
trying to just make sense of all the stuff everywhere.
Right.
So decluttering's a good starting point. Yeah.
Absolutely. Decluttering isn't just about tidying up, right?
Right.
It's about creating a sense of order, visual peace. You're essentially reducing the amount of information your brain has to process, allowing it to rest and recharge.
Okay.
And beyond the physiological benefits, there's also a psychological component as well. Remember Marie Kondo?
Yeah, of course.
Her spark joy philosophy.
Yeah, choosing to only keep the things that really bring you happiness.
Exactly. And there's a reason why that resonated with so many people. When you surround yourself with things that have positive emotional significance, it shifts the energy of your space.
Mhm.
It becomes less about stuff and more about intentionality.
Yeah.
You're curating your environment to reflect what truly matters to you.
So it's not just about getting rid of things. It's about being more mindful about what you keep in your space and why. It's like a mental detox as much as a physical one almost.
You got it. That's a great way to put it. And don't feel like you have to do it all at once.
Right.
Start small.
Yeah.
Maybe tackle a drawer,
Okay.
a shelf,
Mm.
a corner of a room. Breaking it down into manageable chunks, can make the process less daunting. And even small victories, they create a sense of accomplishment,
Yeah.
which can motivate you to keep going.
It's like building momentum, right? You start with one small win, and then that gives you the energy to kind of tackle the next challenge.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've decluttered, we've created some visual breathing room.
Yeah.
What's next? What's the next step in creating this calm oasis?
Let's talk about bringing the outdoors in.
Okay,
Have you heard of biophilic design?
I have heard that term. I'm not sure I know exactly what it means.
So biophilic design is basically incorporating elements of nature into our built environments. And it's based on this idea that humans have an innate connection to the natural world, right? And that exposure to nature has a really profound impact on our well-being.
Okay, so it's more than just adding a few plants here and there.
Right, exactly. Think about the feeling you get when you walk through a forest or you're sitting by the ocean. Your heart rate slows, your breathing deepens, and you just feel this tranquility wash over you. Biophilic design is about replicating those benefits
Interesting.
by bringing elements of nature into our homes and our workplaces.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel more relaxed when I'm surrounded by nature.
Yeah.
But what does that actually look like in practice? Especially if you don't have a lot of space.
Well, plants are a great starting point, of course.
Sure.
They not only purify the air, but they add a touch of vibrancy and life to a space. Studies have shown that even just having plants in your office can reduce stress levels and improve concentration.
So even if you don't have a green thumb, it's worth trying to incorporate a few plants.
Exactly, yeah. But it goes beyond just greenery,
Yeah.
You can also think about incorporating natural materials like wood, stone, or bamboo into your decor.
Okay.
Think about wooden furniture, a stone fireplace, or even just a bamboo mat. These materials bring a sense of warmth and grounding to a space.
Yeah, I'm starting to see how this all connects. It's like creating a space that feels more connected to the natural world, which in turn helps us feel more grounded and centered.
Precisely. Even something as simple as a picture of a nature scene can have a calming effect. Our brains are actually wired to respond positively to natural imagery.
That's fascinating. I was just thinking about those nature documentaries, the ones I love to watch. And maybe it's not just the beautiful footage,
Right?
but also the way those images impact my brain on a deeper level.
Yeah. Research has shown that even just looking at images of nature can lower blood pressure and reduce stress hormones. It's as if our brains are transported to a calmer, more peaceful place.
Wow. Okay, so we've decluttered, we've invited nature in. What's next in our quest for this calm oasis?
Let's talk about color.
All right.
We often think about color as purely aesthetic, but
Mhm.
it has a powerful impact on our mood and emotions.
So you're saying certain colors can actually make us feel calmer.
Absolutely. Think about the colors you typically associate with relaxation and tranquility. What comes to mind?
Well, I immediately think of blues and greens, like soft blues and greens, like the colors of the ocean or a peaceful meadow.
You're spot on. Those colors, they're often used in spas and meditation studios for a reason. They have a very calming effect on the nervous system, helping to reduce anxiety and promote a sense of peace.
That's fascinating. I've always been drawn to those colors, but I never really realized there was an actual scientific reason behind it. So are you saying we should all go and paint our walls pale blue?
It's not quite that simple. While soft blues and greens are generally considered calming, it's also important to consider your personal preferences, right? And the overall feel you want to create in your space.
Okay, so what are some other colors that might promote a sense of calm?
Warm, earthy tones like beige, taupe, soft grays. Those can be really calming too. They create a sense of groundedness and stability. Think about the colors of nature, sand, stone, tree bark. Those colors tend to feel very soothing and grounding.
So it's not about choosing the right color, it's about creating a palette that feels harmonious and reflects the kind of energy you want to bring to your space.
That's it.
What about brighter colors? Are they always a no-go when it comes to creating a calm environment?
Bright colors, they can be energizing, uplifting, which can be great for certain spaces, like maybe a home office or a creative studio. But in areas where you want to relax and unwind, it's best to use them sparingly as accents.
Okay, so maybe skip the bright red feature wall in the bedroom.
Probably a good idea. You can still incorporate pops of color, but in your relaxation zones, stick to a softer, more muted palette, and that'll create a more tranquil atmosphere.
Sounds like it's all about finding the right balance. We've covered decluttering, incorporating nature, using calming colors. What other sensory elements can we tweak to kind of enhance that tranquility of our space?
Lighting plays a crucial role.
Yeah.
Natural light is ideal, of course.
Yeah.
It helps regulate our circadian rhythms, it boosts our mood, and it just makes a space feel more open and airy.
Right.
If you can, open up your curtains, use sheer fabrics to let the sun shine in,
Okay.
and maybe even consider adding a skylight if you're doing any renovations.
And what about when it's dark outside? How do we create that same sense of calm with artificial lighting?
That's where it gets interesting. Ditch the harsh overhead lights.
Okay.
Opt for warm adjustable lamps instead.
All right.
They create a much softer, more inviting ambiance.
Yeah, I've definitely noticed that warm lighting makes a room just feel cozier and more relaxing instantly.
It's because warm light mimics the hues of sunset and candlelight.
Ah, okay.
It signals to our brains that it's time to wind down.
So it's like we're kind of tapping into our natural sleep-wake cycle by just adjusting the lighting in our homes.
Right.
What about other senses? Can things like scent impact our mood and our sense of calm?
Absolutely. Aromatherapy has been used for centuries to promote relaxation and well-being. Certain scents like lavender, chamomile, sandalwood, they have been shown to have calming effects on the nervous system.
Yeah, I've heard lavender's great for sleep,
Right.
but how do you actually use those scents to create that calming atmosphere in your space?
Diffusers are a great option
Yeah.
for consistent, subtle scent. You can also use candles, essential oil blends, or even just, simmer a pot of water with some calming herbs on the stove.
I love it. This is giving me so many ideas. It's like we're creating a multisensory experience
Yeah.
designed to promote relaxation and well-being.
Exactly. It's about engaging all of our senses in a way that supports our desire for peace and tranquility. And the best part is, it's something we can all do regardless of our budget or design expertise.
I love that. It's about making small, intentional changes that can have a big impact on our overall well-being. But I am curious, with all these different elements to consider, where should someone even begin? It seems like a lot to take in all at once.
You're right, it can feel overwhelming at first. My advice would be to start with one area that feels the most stressful or cluttered. Maybe it's your bedroom, your workspace, or even just a corner of your living room.
So pick your battleground and start small.
Exactly. And remember, it's not about perfection, it's about progress. Even small changes can make a big difference in how you feel in your space. Focus on one element at a time, whether it's decluttering, adding a plant, or adjusting the lighting. And most importantly, be patient with yourself.
Yeah, this is making me realize that creating a calming space is an ongoing process. It's not a one-time event, right?
Right.
It's about making conscious choices every day to create an environment that really supports our well-being.
You got it. It's about creating a sanctuary where you can truly relax, recharge, and just reconnect with yourself.
And I think that's a perfect place to pause for a moment. We'll be right back to explore some practical tips for making these changes last.
Welcome back. Before the break, we were discussing the impact of our surroundings on our well-being. And, it's not just about creating a visually appealing space,
Yeah,
but a sanctuary that, truly nurtures our mental and emotional health.
it's like we're designing for our inner peace, almost.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And as we discussed, what the first steps in creating that peaceful environment is, tackling clutter.
Mm.
It's visual noise that bombards the brain, and it leads to stress and mental fatigue.
Yeah, you mentioned starting small, which is great advice because I know personally I get overwhelmed by the thought of decluttering an entire room.
Mm-hmm.
What about those bigger changes, though, like renovations?
Yeah.
Can those contribute to a calmer space?
Absolutely. If your space feels like cramped or chaotic, it can definitely impact your mood. Renovations that create a sense of spaciousness and flow can have a really profound effect on your sense of peace. Imagine transforming a cluttered spare room into a dedicated meditation space, or just opening up your living area to create a more airy, inviting atmosphere.
It's like a mini retreat, right, in your own home.
Exactly.
But I mean, those kinds of changes could be quite an undertaking,
Yeah.
both financially and in terms of the effort involved.
That's true. But even if a full-blown renovation isn't feasible right now, there are still things you can do. Repainting a room in a calming color, rearranging your furniture to create a more peaceful flow, or even just decluttering and organizing a single problem area can make a world of difference.
So it's about working with what you've got and making those conscious choices about how you design your space, even if it's on a smaller scale.
Exactly, yeah. And it's not just about the physical space itself, but also how you use it. Remember those calming rituals we talked about earlier?
Yeah.
Incorporating those into your daily routine can be incredibly powerful.
Right, like creating a designated reading nook with a comfy chair and good lighting, or setting up a meditation corner with a cushion and some calming scents.
Precisely, yeah. It's about creating a space that supports those activities that help you unwind and de-stress. And the act of creating these spaces can be therapeutic in itself. It's a way of showing your self-care and prioritizing your well-being.
I love that. It's like you're sending a message to yourself, like, my peace matters, and I'm creating a space that reflects that. But let's get practical for a moment. If someone's listening to this and they're feeling inspired to create their own calm oasis, where do they even begin?
I always recommend starting with an assessment. Take a look around your space and really tune into how it makes you feel. What areas feel the most stressful or chaotic? Is it your bedroom, your workspace, your living room? Once you've pinpointed those problem areas, you can start brainstorming solutions.
So if your bedroom feels cluttered and overwhelming, maybe that's your starting point.
Yeah.
But what if you're feeling like really overwhelmed by the thought of tackling a whole room?
Then start even smaller. Focus on a single corner. Maybe create a little reading nook or a meditation space. Sometimes those smaller transformations can have the biggest impact. Remember, it's not about doing everything at once. It's about making conscious choices, one step at a time.
So maybe instead of declutter the entire bedroom, it's like declutter the nightstand or create a peaceful corner by the window.
Exactly. And sometimes the simplest changes can make the most profound difference. Something as simple as opening your curtains to let in more natural light,
Right.
or adding a diffuser with a calming scent like lavender can instantly shift the energy of a space.
It's amazing how those little details can really add up to create a completely different atmosphere. I'm starting to see how creating a calm space is really about paying attention to all of our senses and just making choices that support our overall well-being.
That's exactly it. Yeah, it's about curating an environment that nourishes your mind, body, and spirit. And don't forget the power of personal touches. Surround yourself with things that bring you joy, like photos of loved ones, meaningful objects, artwork that inspires you. These little details can transform a space from feeling generic to feeling uniquely yours.
It's like you're infusing your space with your own energy and personality, making it a true reflection of who you are.
Precisely. And that's what makes it truly feel like a haven.
Yeah.
a place where you can recharge, find peace, and reconnect with yourself. As we're talking about all these wonderful transformations, I think it's important to address something that often comes up, and it's that fear of failure or that pressure to create like a perfect, calm space.
Oh, absolutely. I think we've all felt that pressure to create a space that's worthy of a magazine cover, which can be, yeah, incredibly intimidating.
Exactly,
Yeah.
yeah. And it's important to remember that perfection is not the goal here. You know, Creating a calming space is an ongoing process, a journey, not a destination. There will be days when your space gets messy,
Right.
or you just don't have the energy to stick to your routines.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
So it's about finding a balance that works for you, rather than striving for some unattainable ideal of perfect calmness.
Absolutely. It's about making conscious choices, being kind to yourself, and just enjoying the process of creating a space that truly supports your well-being.
That's such a great reminder. I think sometimes we get so caught up in the end goal that we forget to enjoy the journey along the way. But I'm curious, are there any common misconceptions or pitfalls that people should be aware of when they're trying to create a calming space?
Yeah.
Aside from that pressure to be perfect, of course.
One common misconception is that it requires a lot of money or a complete renovation. As we've discussed, even small, budget-friendly changes can have a significant impact. You don't need to hire an interior designer or buy all new furniture to create a sense of peace in your home.
Right. Decluttering's free.
Mm.
And you can find affordable plants and decor at thrift stores, or even just by rearranging what you already have.
Exactly, yeah. Another pitfall is trying to do too much at once. People get so excited about transforming their space that they try to tackle everything at once, and they end up feeling overwhelmed and burnt out.
It's like they go from 0 to 100 real quick, and then they just lose steam.
Precisely. Remember, this is a marathon, not a sprint.
Yeah.
Start small, focus on one area at a time, and celebrate your progress along the way. It's about creating sustainable changes that you can maintain over time.
This is all such great advice. I think the key takeaway here is that creating a calming space, it's about so much more than just aesthetics, right? It's about creating a space that supports our well-being, reduces stress, and just helps us feel more connected to ourselves.
Absolutely. It's about creating a sanctuary where we can recharge, find peace, and live more intentionally. But, it's not just about our individual well-being. There's a ripple effect that extends outwards.
What do you mean?
Well, when we create calm spaces for ourselves, it can actually have a positive impact on those around us. Our families, our housemates, our coworkers, they all benefit from the peaceful energy we cultivate.
So it's like our individual efforts to create calm can actually contribute to a more peaceful world in a sense.
Exactly. It's about recognizing the interconnectedness of all things and understanding that our inner peace is not separate from the peace we experience in our relationships and in our communities.
That's a beautiful thought, and it gives even more meaning to this idea of creating calm spaces.
Yeah.
It's not just about self-care, it's about contributing to a more peaceful and harmonious world.
Precisely. And, that brings us to another really important aspect of creating a calm space: mindfulness.
Okay, tell me more about that.
It's not enough to simply create a beautiful and serene environment. We also need to cultivate a mindful approach to how we inhabit that space.
Okay.
This means being present in the moment, paying attention to our senses, and appreciating the little things.
So it's about bringing that same sense of intentionality that we brought to, like, decluttering and designing our space to our everyday experiences within that space.
Exactly. It's about slowing down, savoring the moment, and appreciating the beauty and tranquility that we've created. This could involve simple practices like lighting a candle and taking a few deep breaths before starting your workday, enjoying a cup of tea in your reading nook, or even just taking a moment to appreciate the natural light streaming through your window.
It's like we're training ourselves to be more present, more mindful, even in the midst of our busy lives.
And that's where the true power of a calm space lies. It's not just about creating a visually appealing environment. It's about cultivating a state of mind, a way of being in the world that is grounded, peaceful, and intentional.
This is all making me realize that creating a calming space is an ongoing practice, a commitment to ourselves and to a more peaceful way of life.
You got it. It's about making conscious choices every day to create an environment that supports our well-being both internally and externally. It's about recognizing that our spaces have the power to shape our thoughts, our emotions, and ultimately our experience of the world.
This has been such an inspiring conversation. I'm feeling so much more aware of the impact my surroundings have on my well-being, and I'm excited to start putting these ideas into practice. But before we wrap up, I'm curious. What are some tips for maintaining that sense of calm once we've created it. It's like,
Mhm.
how do we keep the clutter monster at bay and prevent our calm oasis from turning back into a chaotic jungle?
That's a great question, and it's something we'll explore in more depth after the break. We'll delve into practical strategies for maintaining your calm space and making those positive changes last. So stay tuned. Welcome back. Before the break, we were talking about how those calm spaces, they can impact not just our own well-being, but the well-being of those around us, even contributing to a more peaceful world, kind of subtly.
It is a beautiful idea that our own individual efforts to create that calm can have a ripple effect outwards.
Yeah,
But, as you mentioned, it does take effort to maintain those spaces.
it does.
Life has a way of, you know, getting in the way, and before you know it, the clutter creeps back in, or you don't have the energy to do your calming rituals.
It's true. Maintaining a calm space requires ongoing effort and mindfulness. But the good news is it actually gets easier over time
Okay.
as you develop new habits and routines.
Okay.
Think of it like tending a garden.
Yeah.
You can't just plant the seeds and walk away, right? You need to nurture it.
Mm.
You need to weed it regularly. You need to make sure it gets enough sunlight.
So how do we tend the garden of our calm spaces? What are some practical steps that we can take to make sure that peaceful haven doesn't get overrun by, the chaos of everyday life?
One of the most effective strategies is to incorporate regular decluttering sessions into your routine.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be a huge undertaking.
Right.
Even just spending 15 minutes at the end of each day tidying up and putting things back in their place can make a big difference.
So like setting a timer and tackling like one small area each day.
Exactly. Or maybe you dedicate a chunk of time each week to go through, a particular room or a category of items.
Okay.
The key is to make decluttering a regular habit,
Yeah.
not a once in a blue moon event.
Makes sense.
Right.
Yeah, it's like those tiny daily deposits into a savings account, right?
Hmm.
They might seem small on their own, but over time they add up to a significant sum.
Precisely. And, the more you practice decluttering, the easier it becomes.
Yeah.
You start to develop a more discerning eye for what truly brings you joy and what's simply taking up space in your life.
Yeah, it's like you're training your brain to see clutter differently.
Yeah.
Like instead of just viewing it as stuff,
Yeah.
you start to recognize that impact it has on your mental and emotional well-being.
Exactly. And then there's the one in, one out rule, which can be a game changer when it comes to preventing clutter from building up over time.
Oh, tell me more about that.
The idea is very simple. For every new item that you bring into your home, you get rid of an old one.
I love that. It's like a built-in clutter control mechanism.
Right.
So if you buy a new pair of shoes, you donate or sell an old pair.
Exactly.
Keeps that balance in check.
It encourages you to be more mindful about what you bring into your space in the first place, Do you really need that new item? Or are you just caught up in the moment?
Yeah, it's like a little pause button for impulse purchases.
Exactly.
But what about those calming rituals that we talked about earlier? How do we make sure we stick to those, even when life gets hectic?
Making time for those rituals, even when you're busy, that's crucial for maintaining that sense of peace and balance.
Right.
It's about recognizing that your well-being is a priority, not an afterthought.
So even if it's just 5 minutes of meditation each morning or a quick aromatherapy session before bed, those little moments of self-care can make a big difference.
Absolutely. And, sometimes life throws curveballs.
It does.
There will be days when your space gets messy or you just don't have the energy to stick to your routines, and that's okay. The key is to be kind to yourself and not let perfection be the enemy of progress.
So again, it's about finding that balance that works for you, rather than striving for some unattainable ideal of perfect calmness.
Exactly. Creating a calming space is an ongoing process, a journey, not a destination. And it's a journey worth taking because the benefits extend far beyond just a tidy home.
Yeah.
We've talked about reduced stress, improved focus, and enhanced well-being, but it goes even deeper than that.
Tell me more. What are some of those deeper benefits?
Well, when we create spaces that are truly aligned with our values and our need for peace, it ripples out into other areas of our lives.
Okay.
We become more mindful, more intentional, and more connected to ourselves and to the world around us. Our homes become not just places we live, but sanctuaries that support our growth and evolution.
It's like our spaces become a reflection of our inner state
Exactly.
and vice versa.
Exactly. And there's something so empowering about taking control of our environment and creating spaces that support our well-being. It's a way of saying, I deserve to feel peace, I deserve to feel calm, I deserve to live in a space that nourishes my soul.
This has been such an incredible deep dive into this world of calming
It
spaces.
has.
I feel like we've only just scratched the surface, but I'm walking away with so much food for thought and a renewed sense of inspiration to create my own little haven of peace.
I love that.
What's one key takeaway you hope our listeners will remember from this conversation?
I would say remember that creating a calm space is not a luxury. It's an investment in your well-being.
Mm-hmm.
It's a gift you give to yourself, a way of honoring your need for peace and tranquility. And it all starts with making conscious choices about how you design and interact with your surroundings. So start small, be consistent, and most importantly, be kind to yourself along the way.
Wonderful advice. And on that note, we've reached the end of our deep dive.
We
I
have.
hope you've enjoyed exploring the science and strategies behind creating calm spaces, and we encourage you to share your own experiences and insights with us on social media. Until next time, may your spaces be filled with peace, and may your days be filled with joy.